Good day, everyone, and welcome to part 2 of the SuperTalk. Glad to be here with you all today. We just had Captain Montemayor and Chief Silva here with us, and we talked about all safety and security protocols. And now we have some other special guests with us, Jake. Jake is the producer of the SuperTalk and also the director of community information, and he's going to tell us about the special guests that we have now.
Yes, from our college career and counseling, our director, Norma Cabrera, and from our family treatment program, our manager of that program, Adrian Garza. Welcome.
Thank you all for being here. I know that you all play a big role in making sure that we raise the emotional quotient of our organization, students and staff, and also provide support for those that need it. So thank you all very much for all that you do for our team. Jake, we had a thought exchange around this topic. Tell us about the metrics and the thoughts and how things rolled out.
Yeah, so this was the second thought exchange we ran today, and the question was, in your opinion, what should McAllen ISD focus on in regards to mental health of our students and staff? We had 374 participants, 273 thoughts, and they were rated 3,147 times. A very good turnout for being the second thought exchange of the day.
And what were the top rated thoughts?
Our first one that comes up is, and this is our top one, provide interventions at the elementary level sooner and as often as needed. Students need interventions at the elementary level to help them cope when they go to middle school.
And that top rated thought, it made reference to providing interventions at the elementary level and doing it sooner and often. And I know that we have room to improve just like every other district, but I do want our staff to share what is already going on. So talk to us about that.
We have counselors at every single one of our elementary schools. They're all certified counselors. This year, what we did is we hired 9 additional counselors, and we used ESSER funds for those to pay for those counselor salaries. And these counselors work very closely with students and provide an additional layer of support in the area of emotional intelligence via guidance lessons, individual and group counseling sessions.
And that's important to us because especially coming out of the pandemic, you look at just across the world and mental health and everything that comes with it. And age is not one of those things that is really a determinant. It's all ages, the whole spectrum. So we have services for not only our little ones, but our middle school kids and our high school kids and even our staff. And I know that Mr. Garza will talk about the family treatment program further down the show. But I did want to have parents have the peace of mind to know that we're doing everything that we can with our counseling department. We have hired additional counselors. We're doing everything that we can around emotional intelligence, and we're going to keep trying to get better. But I did want to paint the picture with regard to the reality of McAllen ISD and the fact that we're focusing on that particular aspect. Jake, what was the second rated thought?
Our second rated thought was teachers need to listen to the students when they report that a student is threatening them.
And I know that we get a lot of that, and in working with the administration, and our principals do a great job in doing investigations when things occur. And if you're a parent that has a child that's experiencing something that you believe hasn't been addressed, then please reach out to your campus principal and have a conversation with them with regard to the situation that's occurring, because we want to make sure that we are timely in responding to any type of allegation. We want to be timely in responding to any type of infraction. And our principals will execute the student code of conduct that's based on Chapter 37 of the Texas Education Code. We'll give a kid consequences for inappropriate behavior. So that's what we need to get across to our community and to our student body, is that we're not going to tolerate inappropriate behavior. We're in a space right now where, as a learning institution, we have to keep pushing hard. We have to keep producing. And a big part of that is behaving appropriately. So to the person that wrote this thought, point well taken. We'll make sure to loop back around with our administrators to make sure that we're acting timely. And once again, if you're not, from a customer service standpoint, getting your needs met, please reach out to your campus, reach out to my office, and we'll do all that we can to expedite whatever situation that you're dealing with. And Jake, what's our third top rated thought?
Our third rated thought is teach staff and students to report suspicious behavior and to identify students that may be struggling with mental health issues, because these students most likely had signs of mental health issues prior to the violence that they might commit.
Yeah, and that's an excellent point. And I think that that's one of the common denominators that we see in these horrific acts, is that the individuals, the perpetrators, had some history of mental health issues. So point well taken there. We will definitely report suspicious behavior. And as we spoke to Chief Silva and Captain Montemayor, we talked in that Super Talk with regard to how we address suspicious behavior. So if you haven't seen the Super Talk that happened before this one, I'd encourage you to check that one out. And we really talk about those things. But with regard to students struggling with mental health issues, Mr. Garza, can you talk to us about how we address that?
Yeah, sure. And I want to also make a point that we have students that, of course, struggle with a diagnosis, mental health diagnosis, as well as staff members who struggle with mental health diagnosis. So it's not particular or specific to students. But what we do is we have a tiered approach, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 for students to ensure that we actually identify the student who's in need. And then at that point, which the counselors at the campus make a referral out to the family treatment program. At that point in time, we initiate the services with the student upon parental or guardian consent, and that would include anywhere from therapy, clinical therapy, assessments by a psychiatrist, or even at some point intensive case management for that student.
And Mr. Garza, I know that one of the strengths of our program is that we have relationships with organizations throughout our community. Could you share with our parents and our community who we collaborate with to provide mental health services to our families?
Sure. This morning, I was on the phone with numerous agencies on a daily basis. Almost we're in communication with the mental health agencies, anywhere from Tropical Texas Behavioral Health, our local mental health authority, also our behavioral health hospital at Renaissance, South Texas Health Systems Behavioral, Palms Behavioral. We also have referrals out to Buckner Services, Mesquite Treatment Center, Palmer Drug Abuse Program. The list goes on and on. Even connections with the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley, their psychological department, their TCHAT programs. So everything that we do, we try and minimize the cost for parents and students. And of course, we offer the services free of charge, as well as at times they do bill the insurances. But if there's a tremendous need with the student and they can't afford any type of therapy, then we always do either the free route or pro bono.
And that's important for our community to know. So if you find yourself in a crisis situation and you need help, reach out to us. Adrian, who can they call? If we have a parent out there that's listening to the Super Talk and they're saying, well, my child is battling an issue right now that's causing mental health issues, who could they call?
First point of contact would be the campus counselor. Okay. After that would be our number, which is the family treatment program at 956-926-4813.
So talk to your counselor. Talk to our family treatment program, and we'll do all that we can. As Mr. Garza pointed out, we're not working in isolation. We're working with top-notch professionals in our area, and the goal is to service the entire family. That's why we call it the family treatment program, so that we make sure that we do all that we can to ensure that the entire family unit is in a position to function at their full potential and put children, most of all, in a position to be as successful as possible. And we know that doesn't happen in isolation. So not only are we keeping your children safe, because we have a robust police department and an administration that implements a student code of conduct, but we also have a very, very solid approach to dealing with mental health issues through our family treatment program. And as you've heard, our counseling department, we've added personnel. We've been more strategic with regard to how we're delivering curriculum and how we're servicing children. And I would say that we're second to none at that. So if your family is dealing with an issue, feel free to reach out to the family treatment program or reach out to your campus counselor to ensure that we're doing everything that we can to provide your family with the services needed, because we want the entire family unit to be successful. And we know that everybody within the family plays a role in the success of the child. And that's what we're in the business of, making sure that we put children in a position to excel. And we have systems and processes in place to do that. And one thing that we're very, very proud of also is the fact that McAllen ISD incorporates emotional intelligence into the curriculum. So talk to us about that.
We have a district-wide emotional intelligence program where we want to make sure that every single one of our students learns the 5 domains of emotional intelligence: self-awareness, social skills, self-regulation, empathy, and motivation. We have lessons that we have shared with students at elementary level, middle school level, and high school level. We're writing curriculum. We're certifying our staff in SSMS. We want to make sure that every single student strengthens their emotional quotient, which is going to help us in controlling and making sure that they're behaving better because they're able to self-regulate, they're able to make better choices. So this is a district-wide curriculum. We're using books that we've chosen to represent empathy, to represent motivation, and all the 5 domains of SSMS, of emotional intelligence, and we're sharing that with students to make sure that all of them learn those skills that are going to make them better in interacting with others and also in growing personally and in the classroom.
And that's important to us as a district. We want to make sure that we prepare students academically, but we also want to make sure that from an emotional quotient standpoint that they also understand themselves from an interpersonal standpoint, and that they can get along with others from an interpersonal standpoint, so that they're not only book smart, but they're self-smart and they're people smart. And that's important as they move out into the world. And I think that as you raise the emotional quotient of an individual, whether it's a child or an adult, and by the way, this is a never-ending trek, a never-ending process of raising the emotional quotient that we can all learn from. But the higher the EQ, then the more successful that you'll be. That's what the research shows. And we looked at Tal Ben-Shahar's work out of Harvard University, and that's really the catalyst for the program that we have within our transition program and our BIM program for the graduation requirement that we recently put in place to ensure that all of our students, before they graduate, take a deep dive on the constructs of emotional intelligence. And Jake, we went through the top 3 thoughts, but what's the 4th rated thought in our latest thought exchange?
The 4th thought is, I feel that we need to concentrate on the mental well-being of our students and that the school district needs to hire trained professionals because adding more police and safety measures do not deal with the root problem.
And I agree with that. The one thing that we have in place is we do have a robust police department, but that's not the only piece of the puzzle. I think on the prevention side, to the point of this comment, we do need to focus on mental health. Adrian, anything that you want to add with regard to that comment, that they're talking about a concentration on mental health and making sure that professionals are trained in that arena? I know that that's something that we do, but can you add to that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, Dr. Gonzalez, we've been doing this for a while now, and we've been part of many strategy sessions and creating these systems and processes for mental health awareness, mental health intervention, prevention, even postvention. At this point, we have actual clinical staff that are trained to do therapy or conduct therapy sessions for students who are either dealing with suicidal ideations, homicidal ideations, or harm to others, or just, your general anxiety. Much of it is situational, coming out of course, virtual learning and coming into a campus. And so they're dealing with some anxiety. We have routes for children who are going through that process as well. So looking at it, I mean, at first when we first started this, it felt like we're trying to boil the ocean. It was so much work. But now we're at a point where we feel like we're at, like you said, ahead of the game. And regionally, we look at our processes, and they're up to par with like other big cities. But we're actually utilizing smaller resources. So it's just making sure that we have that infrastructure in place, making sure that the community understands that we're not, as a school district, standing back and saying we don't need the help. That's why the partners that we have in the mental health community are saying, yeah, we're willing to help because we need it.
And we're very proud of that fact. We're very proud of the fact that we're leaning forward. We're not sitting around making excuses, and we're not claiming to be perfect. But we will say that 100% without a doubt that we're doing our very best to incorporate systems and processes to keep your kids safe and to make sure that mental health is a priority for us. As we push to raise the emotional quotient of the entire organization, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of effort, but that's something that we're committed to. So I hope that you enjoyed today's Super Talk. I know that we're very, very proud of the fact that we've been working very hard to keep our kids safe, but we're also equally as proud of what we're doing to service children around mental health and raise the emotional quotient. Thank you all for joining us today. Have a nice day.